If you're watching this video in July, feeling like everyone else is winning at life while you're still trying to figure out what to have for dinner, this video is for you. Because what I'm about to share isn't some productivity hack or morning routine that you're just going to abandon by the next week. This is about something much deeper. And it's the reason why traditional resets have never really worked for people like us. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why you've been approaching your goals completely wrong. And I'm going to walk you through the entire 3-layered system that completely rewired my relationship with productivity and success. So here's what happened a few weeks ago. I was scrolling through TikTok. Terrible habit, I know, when I see this girl posting about her mid-year reset, and it's all color-coded calendars and 5 AM wake-up calls. And I literally felt my nervous system activate. Like my body was telling me absolutely not, but my brain was like, you should probably be doing that. And that's when it hit me. We've been doing resets completely wrong. We've been trying to force ourselves into these masculine hustle culture frameworks that are literally designed to burn us out. We are cyclical beings trying to live in this linear world and then wonder why we feel so behind and so burnt out. But here's the thing no one talks about, and this is what I talked about in my last video about being behind versus being burnt out. Feeling behind is often just your intuition telling you that you're living someone else's blueprint for success. So today, I'm going to show you how to do a reset that actually works for your system and not against them. Now, before I start, I need to be honest with you about something. 6 months ago, I was that person with the elaborate vision boards and the perfectly planned routines. I had this whole system, I was tracking everything, and I was a little miserable. I was achieving things, sure, but I felt like I was performing productivity instead of actually living. I do love my planner, but I think for me, it got to a place where I was just constantly comparing my productivity to everyone else's online. And then I had what I could only describe as a quarter-life crisis, which I may actually talk about in next week's video because that story is wild. Especially with everything that's going on with trying to start my own business, trying to start my own clothing brand. But the short version is that I was optimizing for the wrong things entirely. That breakdown led me to develop this reset system that I'm sharing with you guys today. And it's based on something I think is revolutionary. The idea that maybe we need to realign ourselves. So here's what we're going to do today. So today, I'm going to walk you through the exact 3-layer system that helped me go from feeling scattered and feeling so behind to feeling realigned and purposeful again. And I'm not talking about some surface level organization tips or some woo concept here. I'm talking about a practical framework that you can start implementing today to completely rewire how you approach life. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a clear roadmap for the next 6 months that actually feels exciting and sustainable instead of overwhelming and impossible. So the first layer is the mental reset. We're going to start with something that's uncomfortable but absolutely necessary. Getting brutally honest about who you are right now. Here is what I want you to do. And this is based on something that I learned during my own reset process. I want you to write 3 things that consistently drain your energy and 3 things that consistently give you energy. When I did this exercise, I realized that trying to force myself into a morning routine of productivity was actually causing more harm than benefit. Everyone on TikTok has been saying you should be up at 5 AM, but I'm naturally someone who does her best creative work or work in general after lunch. And of course, I would love to one day be able to have a morning routine where I can wake up at 5 AM, go to the gym and get some work done, but as someone who is currently working a 9 to 6, that is just unrealistic on top of the other commitments I already have. I'm also someone who gets so much energy from reading books and being alone, but I wasn't properly prioritizing them. This audit is going to reveal where you're currently forcing yourself into systems that just don't work for you. And here's the key insight. Successful people aren't successful because they follow everyone else's rules. They're successful because they create systems that work specifically for their lifestyle and for their energies. Next, we're doing what I call a progress check. And this is where most people get it completely wrong. Instead of only looking at what's not working, we're going to start by gathering evidence of what is working. I want you to make 2 lists. The first list is your visible wins from the last 6 months. These are the obvious achievements that everyone else can see. And the second list is for your invisible wins. These are the internal changes, the growth, the habits you have built, the things that you have overcome that maybe no one else notices. Here's why this matters, and this completely changed my perspective. Your invisible wins are usually way more important than your visible ones. Like learning to set boundaries with your family. That's huge. Breaking a habit that was holding you back, that's massive. But we don't celebrate these things enough because they're not Instagram worthy. Your wins are literally fuel for future success. When you acknowledge what's working, you're training your brain to notice opportunities and solutions instead of just problems. The final part of the mental reset is what I call the overwhelm detox. And this is where we're going to get radical with your priorities. I want you to look at your current goals and rate each one from 1 to 10 based on how it feels with your actual life right now. Not your ideal life, not your future life, but your actual circumstances right now. Anything below a 7 goes into what I call a someday maybe list. And I know that might sound scary, but here's what I learned. Trying to pursue many goals at the same time is probably why you may feel behind. But you're not behind. You're just trying to be 5 different people at the same time. And if you're someone like me who is multi-passionate and struggles with wanting to do and learn too much at the same time, I actually already have a solid video that I think might help you out, talking about how you can go about approaching your many different interests and passions. Spoiler alert, having many different passions and interests is not a flaw. So I'll leave it up somewhere here if you want to dive deeper into this topic. Remember, the goal isn't to do everything. The goal is to do the right things with your whole heart and actually make progress instead of just spinning your wheels. Let's move on to layer 2, which is the physical reset. And we're going to start with something that sounds obvious but is actually pretty revolutionary, which is your nervous system regulation. Here's what I want you to understand. If your nervous system is dysregulated, no amount of planning or goal setting is going to work. You'll be operating from a place of fight or flight, which means you'll constantly feel behind and scattered. So we're going to implement something that I call the pause. This is a 5-minute practice that you do every day before you check your phone, before you look at your to-do list, before you do anything else. You're going to sit somewhere comfortable. It could just be on your bed. Put your hand on your heart and take 5 deep breaths. And with each breath, you're going to ask yourself, what does my body need today? What does my soul need today? What will make me feel the most alive today? This isn't really about meditation, but more of mindfulness. You're teaching your body that it's safe to slow down, that it's safe to tune in, that it's safe to prioritize your own needs. Next, we're talking about your physical environment. And I need you to pay attention to this because it could change how you feel about yourself immediately. Your space is a reflection of your internal state, but it's also shaping your internal state. Your space is either supporting you in who you're becoming or it's keeping you stuck. If your space feels chaotic, you're going to feel chaotic. If your space feels intentional, you're going to feel intentional. But here's the thing, I'm not talking about some Pinterest perfect aesthetic. I'm talking about creating a space that feels like you, that supports who you're becoming. For you, this could mean buying that jewelry holder to display all the pieces that you love and are passionate about. Or maybe setting up your room as a creative space so that it reflects and supports your artistic dreams. Or investing in candles or plants to make your room feel more luxurious and more grounded. The key is to ask yourself, what would the future you who has already accomplished the life that you aspire, what would they want and what would they have in their space? And then just get 1 or 2 of those things. You don't need to get everything, just a few that make you feel like you're living the life that you already want. And the final part of this physical reset is what I call building sustainable routines. This is where we stop trying to copy everyone else's morning routines and start building one that actually works for your life. I want you to think about your natural energy patterns. Are you someone who feels more energized in the morning or at night? Do you prefer to move your body first thing in the day or later in the day? Do you need silence and solitude or music and stimulation? Instead of forcing yourself into a routine that fights against your natural tendencies, I want you to create a routine that supports them. For me, this meant giving permission to myself for starting the day much slower, with more rest, more journaling, more reading instead of just jumping straight into work. It meant scheduling my most important tasks for when I naturally have the most energy. The goal isn't to be disciplined enough to follow someone else's routine. The goal is to be self-aware enough to create a routine that makes you feel supported and energized instead of drained and resentful. Now we're moving into the final layer, the vision reset. And this is where you're going to get really honest about what you actually want versus what you think you should want. I want you to imagine it's December 2024 or the December of whatever year has just passed at the time of you watching this video. You're looking back on the last 6 months of your life. What would need to happen for you to feel proud of how you spent this time? Not accomplished, not productive, but proud. When I did this exercise, I realized that all my goals were about external validation. I wanted to grow my social media following. I wanted to earn a better income. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to check boxes that would make other people feel impressed. But when I imagined myself feeling proud, what came up was building deeper relationships, building something that was 100% mine, something worth fighting for, and something that would bring and do good into this world. More creative expression and a sense of inner peace. That's when I realized I've been chasing the wrong thing entirely. I've been trying to build a life that looks so good on Instagram instead of a life that feels good in my body. So your vision reset isn't about setting bigger or more ambitious goals. It's about reconnecting to what actually matters to you right now in this season of your life. And here's the part that some of you might not have understood yet. You have the permission to let go of the goals that no longer serve you. I know that might sound scary because we've been conditioned to think that changing our minds means we're inconsistent or unreliable. But actually, changing a mind when you get new information is what you call growth. The person that set your January goals are operating with a totally different set of information than you have right now. You've learned new things about yourself, about what you actually enjoy, about what actually energizes you. It would be weird if your goals hadn't evolved. So I want you to look at your current goals and ask yourself, if I knew no one would judge me for this, which one of these goals would I let go of? And then let them go. This isn't giving up. It's about being honest. And honesty is the foundation of any life that you're actually going to want to live. Here's what I want you to do right now. And yes, I mean literally right now. Pause the video if you need to. I want you to write down who you think you should be versus who you actually are now in this season of your life. Because here's what I've noticed. Most of us are trying to be the January versions of ourselves in July. We're holding ourselves to goals and standards that were set by a completely different person. The person we were 6 months ago who had different priorities, different energy levels, different life circumstances. The second you give yourself permission to be this new person, everything will start to shift. Because you cannot build a sustainable life on top of self-rejection. Finally, we're going to create a clear vision for the next 6 months. One that's based on who you actually are and not who you think you should be. I want you to choose 2 to 3 priority areas for the next few months. Not 10 areas, not everything in my life needs to change. Just 2 to 3 things that would genuinely make a difference in how you feel about your life. For each area, I want you to write down what success would actually look like in a way that you can actually measure. Not just be healthier, but maybe you want to move your body 3 times a week in a way that actually is enjoyable. Not be more social, but maybe have one meaningful conversation with a friend every week. And here's the key. I want you to schedule these appointments into your calendar like they're non-negotiable appointments. Because if it's not scheduled, it's not real. Your future self lives in your calendar, not in your head. So after watching this video the entire way through, I want you to pick one thing from each layer. One thing from the mental reset, one thing from the physical reset, and one thing from the vision reset, and implement it this week. Not all of it, just one thing from each layer. The goal isn't to overhaul your entire life in 7 days. The goal is to start building momentum in the direction of who you're wanting to become. And if you feel like you're completely alone in this, don't worry, you're most definitely not, because I literally just went through my own quarter life mid-year crisis and I'm going through my own reset. So if you guys want to do this together, leave a comment below and we can form our own little community of trying to make it through this 2025 year together. And if you want to see my own process of resetting this year, you can definitely leave a comment below and I'll share with you guys all the nitty-gritty and probably embarrassing behind the scenes videos, probably hilarious videos too of my entire process. Because sometimes the best time to start over isn't January 1st, it's right now. So if this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments below your new goals that you're working towards, as well as the changes that you're planning to implement. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you're subscribed because there's much more great videos coming your way. I'm just getting started with sharing the real, unfiltered truth about what it takes to build the life that you actually want to live. So until next time, take care of your heart, your mind, and your dreams. I'll see you in the next video very soon.